Turns out there's a lot of real evidence that Lyme disease was weaponized, and that it leaked out of a lab, and it came out of a lab called Plum Island, which was close to Lyme, Connecticut. And RFK Jr. firmly believes that this was a weapons program.
Was Lyme disease created by man to be used as a bioweapon? Podcast king Joe Rogan certainly seems to be convinced. While Rogan has been touting the theory for years, he most recently brought it up on his podcast in March, in a clip that has once again resurfaced and gone viral. In it, he discussed his belief that the disease was leaked from the Plum Island Animal Disease Center in Long Island, New York. Plum Island just happens to be miles away from Lyme, Connecticut, where the disease got its name after being identified there in 1975. But Rogan wasn't the first one to share the lab leak theory. According to Tufts University, the idea that Plum Island Lab is responsible for Lyme disease in America due to experiments they conducted in the 50s to the 70s has been spread for decades. In 2019, the conspiracy garnered national attention from the book Bitten: The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons by Chris Newby, even being referenced by Rogan that same year.
There's a woman who wrote a book about Lyme disease possibly being a military biological weapon that accidentally was released. Apparently, this is a popular thought.
Chris Newby has since become such a prominent voice for the theory that she was even interviewed by the current HHS Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., on his podcast in 2024.
With the information that it was a bioweapon, I started looking backwards in time. And what I realized in the late 60s, 3 freaky new tick-borne diseases showed up.
And the idea that this may have been is highly likely to have been a military weapon. And we cannot say 100% for sure, but we do know that they were experimenting with ticks there, and that the ticks, as you show, are a epidemic because of what happened in Plum Island and the other labs.
The podcast episode would come back to bite him, though, when his comments were brought up in his confirmation hearing earlier this year.
Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
So, does the Plum Island theory have any legs to it? The theory begins after the Second World War, when Fort Terry, used at the time as a weapons storage facility on Plum Island, was transferred to the U.S. Army Chemical Corps in 1952, according to the Long Island Historical Journal. Over the next 2 years, over a dozen new buildings were built to be used in conjunction with the Plum Island Research Facility. According to the journal, research on foreign animal diseases was originally done with the intent of developing biological weapons. However, Professor Sam Telford, an expert on infections spread by insects such as ticks, said the theory was soundly debunked by his research. In his studies, various archived ticks and animals from as far back as 1894 were tested for Borrelia burgdorferi, the bacterium that causes Lyme disease. The specimens, collected from Long Island and Cape Cod, were found to be infected with the bacterium. According to Professor Telford, this makes the Plum Island theory impossible, as the proposed leaks would not have occurred until decades later. Moreover, President Richard Nixon scrapped the bioweapons program on Plum Island in 1969, 6 years before Lyme would be discovered. And if that wasn't enough of a buffer, just take a look at what's believed to be the oldest known case of Lyme disease, the Tyroleum iceman. That's right, traces of the DNA of Borrelia burgdorferi were found in the 5,300-year-old specimen's bone marrow, making him the earliest documented case of Lyme disease in humans, according to Stanford Medicine. Perhaps it's time to put this theory on ice.